One, two, three.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, we are Geeks Assembled, and today we are going to be talking about a 1996 attempt of a British cult TV comeback, which sort of succeeded in a way, and it sort of didn't as well. We are talking the 1996 TV movie of Doctor Who, starring Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, Sylvester McCoy as his swan song in this one. We have the return of the Master in the guise of Eric Roberts. So, Susan just showing us their DVD cover. Is that just the normal? Is that the special edition? Yeah, special edition. Yeah, it's a good one. I've got a copy somewhere. So, without further ado, we'll go around these guys here and we'll take their opening thoughts about this movie. And then we'll discuss, maybe, think what went wrong with the movie as well, because some people loved it, some people hated it, some people were in the middle. But without this movie, we would never have had Paul McGann and his awesome Doctor. So, we'll go with Susan and Alex first. Your opening thoughts on this, please.
Why, thank you, Lee. I noticed that you and Harry and Alex have all dressed for the occasion. Oh boy, I really love Paul McGann. He was my first Doctor that I ever met in my whole life. He was the most generous, kind, cool guy. I met him in Gallifrey 1. He was everything Doctor Who was and is. He was a gentleman. He was a scholar. He was hilarious, and he let me just fangirl on him like nobody's business. My friend Patty had to physically pull me away from him a couple of times because I just wanted to completely dominate him for long stretches of time. He, I had this much, when I first started with Doctor Who, I had this many audios. I had just his first 2 seasons with Lucy Bleeding Miller, and then I moved into having I got all those seasons, and then I got some more stuff, and I got more Paul McGann stuff, and honestly, if you want to put him in the mix of any actor of any show, he really had amazing acting ability, and this movie was super well acted. And yes, they substituted Vancouver for San Francisco, but Vancouver was everything. Vancouver was, the spaceship of destiny in Stargate Universe. It was Atlantis in the Pegasus Galaxy in Stargate Atlantis. It was the whole SGC in Stargate SG-1. It was Storybrooke in Once Upon a Time. It literally has been everything everywhere. The Andromeda spaceship, everything everywhere has been there. So of course it's good that the TARDIS, the interior of the TARDIS was in Vancouver. That fits, and it fits perfectly. And Daphne Ashbrook, I gotta say, she was as generous as Paul. She had a really hilarious reality around her. When I met her, she was just so open and willing to share, and that was super fun. She saw us 3 girls sitting in the car laughing, and she came over to the window and she stuck her head in and laughed with us. We let her in on the joke. I don't even remember what it was, but we let her in on it, and she laughed, and we had such fun together. So that was amazing. I love the movie. I don't have any problems with anything in the movie. I gotta say that It's high art. It's super fun, and everything about it is amazing. And I just, yeah, so that's my opening thoughts. Can't wait to get into my favorite moments. But here's Alex.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was a fan. I am a fan of Doctor Who, and I'm glad that it came back in '93 and '96, if only for a minute. Yeah, I don't really like Eric Roberts in this movie, I have to say. But he is kind of a B movie actor. But his daughter is Emma Roberts. His sister is Julie Roberts. Is another sister that's an actress, not a big name actress. Yeah, he kind of hams it up. I mean, he's probably just as bad as John Sim in the fact that he hams it up too much. But I guess if you like it, I prefer the version where they cut him out for the most part. You know, unfortunately, this is during the sort of cancellation, the sort of hiatus, the sort of rest, as the BBC puts it. I do admire that there were at least 6 other people that were trying to bring back Doctor Who. Unfortunately, this had the bad luck of also being aired on the night that the original Roseanne um, series was ending, and unfortunately, I think they should have aired it on another night. Um, and she's another troublemaker of another fandom. But I do like the movie. I do like Paul McGann. Yeah, unfortunately, you can tell it's kind of a wig. And I kind of wish they had done it slightly differently. But at least the TARDIS looks better. The theme song is better than what it was. They did have, Sylvester McCoy come back. I did meet him. Um, yeah, I could have met Ashbrook. I didn't. I think she was also trying to cater to the female fans. I think she noticed that the fandom was changing. It wasn't just male oriented as it was back then as well. This is also during the quote unquote wilderness years where you had to count on audios and books and other unofficial videos for and magazines for your uh, Doctor Who needs, as they say. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It is funny. They do try to condense in 2 hours. Of course, this was in Canada. Of course, you can tell a lot of people aren't American just from their accent and the way they talk. Um, yeah, Chang Lee is good. Daphne Ashbrook is pretty good. They introduced the kiss. The doctor didn't kiss people before, and certainly not mouth to mouth. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't find that so great. I agree that I think it was a little bit inappropriate, but that's okay. They had to change Doctor Who. I was trying to talk to the BBC via phone, and unfortunately, they were very worried that Doctor Who was just too old fashioned, and you couldn't update the character, and you couldn't change the character, and they also wanted the X Files money. They wanted that sweet, sweet X Files fandom, which also came back, which I like the reboot better. I like the comeback better than the original series. But in any case, this was also the era of bringing back, the Outer Limits and bringing back having Babylon 5, which is another show. Harlan Ellison did like Doctor Who. He also worked for Babylon 5. I don't mind that. He did die last year. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. As far as the other sequences in the movie, yeah, I might have a slight problem with it too. I didn't like the Frankenstein comparison as well. Um, but that's the other thing too, is that Doctor Who is very quirky. It's very hippie-like. It's very British, and I think and the BBC were afraid, and I think even Fox was afraid that it wasn't going to pull in a lot of people because it does have a lot of American fans, but it this was the wilderness years, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that old." Even the BBC were going, "That old chestnut, that old show." Nobody likes that anymore, And for one night, they were proven wrong. And of course, it came back. And of course, it came back in 2005. And hopefully, it'll go on for another 20 years. Maybe, maybe not. And of course, it's a woman now. So, well, yeah. So, hopefully, it'll be on for another 20, 30 years. And they also have made a deal with China as well. So I don't know if that's going to help the show in terms of it, more of it getting produced. I did read the novelization. They add a little bit more color and character to it. Like I said, I'm glad it came back. I remember I watched it. I even had it on video where they had Sprint and other famous companies that funded the commercials as well, which was a little jarring because over here in America they didn't have commercials when they showed it on PBS with Monty Python afterwards or not. But yeah, I like the movie, but I like the version where Eric Roberts is cut out of most of it.
Thank you. We'll move over to Harry now. Harry, what's your opening thoughts on this?
Well, I gotta say, I watched the movie when it first came out. I own the DVD. Over the years, it has not grown on me. In fact, over the years, it has gotten down on me. I've lost interest in it. Reason for me is that what you had was a backdoor pilot. This was an attempt with this 2-hour movie to bring Doctor Who back as a U.S. series. Not as a BBC series, but a U.S. series. And it failed. It got slaughtered in the ratings. Now, they did a decent job of doing it. I mean, shooting in Vancouver, not bad. But it just didn't feel right. It said this was an American attempt to do a pilot. And Fox, when they aired it that Tuesday night, the show got slaughtered. First, as mentioned, Roseanne. Roseanne was getting toward the end of its run, and there were things going on with this series at that time, so it had a lot of audience there. Also, another comedy series, a sort of science fiction comedy series, Third Rock from the Sun, was also airing at that same time. Between Roseanne and Third Rock, the Doctor Who movie got slaughtered. It only got an 11% rating here in the United States. I mean, I thought it was good. It was not something to keep us interested during the wilderness years. As mentioned, there's the novelization, the novel. I've got that. But what most people don't have, and I've got one of the few copies, I've got the script book. That's something you don't find too often. I've got the script book. And while the script book's not bad, and the novel's not bad, the novel is pretty much cut and dry from the movie. There's a little bit of stuff put in there, but they should have hired Terrence Dicks. They should have hired somebody else to do the novel, because it's basically you're just getting cut and dry from the writer/director. And I'm sorry, it's just my view. I know there's a lot out there who don't agree with it. There's some who do, but that's just my view on it.
Right. So, you lot have had your say. Right, here goes me. I loved it when it first was broadcast because, we'd had no Doctor Who since 1989. All we had was the Virgin novels, which was awesome. And then they were taken over in latter years by the BBC novels, which were awesome. But then all of a sudden in 1995, on the cover of Doctor Who magazine, Paul McGann is the next Doctor. Wow, we've got an eighth Doctor. And then it was, Sylvester McCoy is up for regeneration, and he was there as well. To me, it is Doctor Who. It's canon. You've got a Doctor passing over the keys to another Doctor. regeneration scene. Okay, yes. The regeneration scene with all the gurning faces, I could have done without. No, that I could do without that. But I also agree the Frankenstein thing. I can see where they were going with that. Coming back to life. I could have done without that, but I can see where they went with it. Paul McGann is awesome in this. Just absolutely love him. It's a shame this pilot didn't take off in America because he was going to be contracted for a five-year series contract. So that would have taken him up to 2001, just in time nearly for Eccleston to come along and take the keys off him. But it was never happened. But as I say, it got 5.6 million viewers in America. So it's not that bad for if it was still unknown over there at the time. 5.6 isn't that bad. Over in the UK, it reached, I think, about 9 or 10 million viewers. So very good viewing, So the UK was up for, the Eighth Doctor, more adventures with the Eighth Doctor, which never happened. But then, thank God, we got Big Finish Audio, who got in touch with Paul McGann. Do you want to be the Eighth Doctor again? Yay! So come 2000, 2001, we got the Eighth Doctor, and he's been playing him ever since. And what an awesome Doctor he is. Going back to the movie, yeah, Daphne Ashbrook's brilliant in this as Grace. I don't really agree with what Alex says about Eric Roberts. He is a good master. He's slimy, hammy. Anthony Ainley was hammy, and I love Anthony Ainley. But I agree. I'm not a fan of John Sim at all as the master. I'll give me Eric Roberts any day over John Sim. And now Eric Roberts has returned as the master in the audios as well. So hey, but the scenery, the setting, the TARDIS is absolutely awesome. The set, the design of it, wow. I think whoever designed it must have seen the old-fashioned Fourth Doctor console with the wooden console and took it from there with all the just brilliantly. That was so well done. I wish we could have seen that console room again at some point. Even the Doctor's costume was doctorish, wasn't it? You sort of put that, it's the Doctor, and the Master's costume at the end as well with the big collar, and you think you were getting a bit of Delgado and Ainley there, fashion-wise, shall we say? But
and you knew he nicked it from the Doctor. That's the Doctor's Pridonian costume.
Yeah,
so, he nicked it. He was trying to nick everything.
Yeah. I know they did cock up with the Eye of Harmony, but now that is Doctor Who law that every TARDIS has an Eye of Harmony in there now as well, because it only appeared on Gallifrey at one point. But hey ho, how do you connect a TARDIS to Gallifrey? Put an Eye of Harmony in every TARDIS. There you go, problem solved. And I think the main gripe with most fans was the just throwaway remark, "I'm half human," on my mother's side. The Doctor lies. We know he does.
And that was just basically from his audition.
Yeah. So, you muted there, Susan. Go. What was that?
They took that little bit of stuff from the audition and from that audition script and tried to plop it down in the middle of this one. And I mean, it was kind of like, well, watching the audition stuff and, knowing that that's where it came from, that's where this whole, Michigas was started from.
Well, don't forget, too, that you have a little bit of the in-joke tribute to Bill and Ted, who also wanted to use more of a TARDIS-looking phone booth, and the BBC wouldn't allow it. Remember when they're talking in the TARDIS, Chang Lee and the Master, and he goes, "No way," and the Master says, "Yes, way." So
That's
it's
right.
kind of funny how, in a way, this is also sort of a little bit of a tribute to the old and the new. And like I said, Doctor Who's always been around. It's just that it wasn't always around on TV. And the
Yeah.
problem is the BBC, while they have wonderful ideas and great shows, they don't seem to fund them, which is kind of important when you have a TV show. You can't really do it just reading a script, for a TV show unless you're going to do a radio show. Um,
Yeah, that's
so
true.
the Big Finish is better, and they have more freedom, and they don't have to worry about budgets and companies and all this other stuff. Um, okay, but I'm just saying that, yeah, I mean, the Mother Half Human and the Kissing Grace, yeah, they had to have a little bit to annoy the fandom as usual.
But there is a couple of scenes in the movie where I thought certain people of certain religions would be up in arms about. Is the one where he's walking around in his white shroud, sort of like Jesus Christ like, and then near the end with crown of thorns with his eyes and all like that. I'm thinking, what they're trying to say here? Are they trying to make him sort of a godlike person? I don't know. It's I thought maybe that would have got a few more people up in arms, but never did for some strange reason. Well, go on, then, Alex.
Yeah, no, I actually had a party that day. That was on a Tuesday night, and yeah, some people did actually get mad that were at my party. We had Chinese and barbecue and all that. Yeah, but like I said,
They got mad at the
yeah, they got
God
mad.
thing?
They got mad at the Jesus Christ subtext thing, and they got
Whoa.
mad at the. But I also thought it looked a little bit like Clockwork Orange. You know, how you force the eye
Ooh.
open.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you're forcing the eyes open, which I kind of thought they dwelt on that a little too long too. I was like, okay, guys, where are you going with this? And then the fact that the master sort of was making noises that were a little bit more appropriate for private viewing as opposed to something that would be on national television. Um,
Right off.
so yeah, I mean, and then the other problem is the other part I don't like is the clock. Remember when he and the master says it the other way? It's just a bad pronunciation. Like cock of the walk instead of saying clock, he says cock, and I was like, whoa, dude, editing. And then also him choking his wife. That was also his real life wife as well.
Okay.
But yeah, some parts of it were very quirky. But that's Doctor Who as well.
Oh yeah. Well, while you're unmiked, then do you want to do your favourite bits or things? What you?
Okay, this is yes, I would love to. I stole the mic.
Let's sit down. Let's brace ourselves for this. Go on.
Okay. I love the scene where they're on the motorcycle. I love that. I love that when they steal the cop's motorcycle and they hand him a jelly baby. And I mean that was that was what Tom Baker always wanted to do. That was what he was gonna do. He was gonna give somebody a jelly baby and steal their car. I mean, he did it in 3 episodes, right? So that was totally amazingly hilarious. And then the beryllium clock where he knows all the stuff about everybody, that was super fun. And then the other, I love the kiss. I love the when he gets good shoes and he kisses her. Adding romance to Doctor Who is not a bad thing. It isn't a bad thing because the best things in life are in Doctor Who. The best things in the universe are in Doctor Who, and if romance is in Doctor Who, then that is a good place for it. And so the other thing that I love how Chang Lee, he actually shows, like, at the very beginning he shows concern, even though he'd just been in a gang warfare type deal. Yes, the high five was a little bit like, ooh, shoot somebody, hey, high five. But then he's got this you know he takes care of the seventh Doctor. And then the other part that I like that is nobody's going to mention but me is all these shirtless doctors. I mean, that was super fun. I mean, I love seeing seventh Doctor, eighth Doctor. You know, that was super fun. It was just a little bit sexy. So the whole thing started sexy. It started with sexy Sevy, and then it moved into, that whole thing, the whole romance thing. It just had to happen that way. And the other thing I love about this, I love Eric Roberts at the very end blowing his mind. That was super fun. He really went there. I mean, he ate the scenery all up. It was like amazing. And so those are my favorite moments. You guys can argue with me about everything in there, but yeah, at this point I know I'm right.
It's not right or wrong, it's an opinion. However, I did not like a lot of Eric Roberts in this movie, unfortunately. I don't know why they encouraged him to kind of be like an 8-year-old. Most of the time I like the Master, but the original Master, Roger Delgado, who was also part Spanish, but I like the fact that he had such oozing evil, and the nice thing was he didn't twirl. Yeah, he didn't twirl the mustache, and that actually is kind of scarier because he seems more normal, and that's really scary. I mean, you could do anything in a cartoon, but when you act cartoonish, around a bunch of supposed adults, that takes away from it, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, Grace was all right. I did like Paul McGann. I did like Yanti So. Will Sasso was funny and also doing not too funny, unfortunately. Now he's done the remake of the Three Stooges, the reboot of the Three Stooges, ironically enough. And this was sort of a reboot backdoor pilot type of thing. Unfortunately, they should have had it on another night. I forgot I used to have the TV Guide. The TV Guide had an article about Paul McGann during the month of May. Unfortunately, Doctor Who didn't come back into its own until the 2000s and 2010, where Tennant became the universal face pretty much. And so did Matt Smith, unfortunately.
No,
McGann should have gotten more credit. I agree with that. No, McGann, Eccleston did a good job.
Yeah.
But he also had to update it. He had to bring it into, take away some of the, how shall we say, living off the good old charms of the Doctor and bring in the new. And that's what the BBC was afraid of, that they couldn't update it. They couldn't bring in a new audience. They didn't, and I think that's the other reason why.
Know anything.
Okay, but I'm just telling you. Well, I'm not talking about the controllers. I'm talking about BBC Worldwide and all that. Not that they were against Doctor Who, but they didn't think. Well, I mean, again, remember, this was before everything got rebooted too. Remember, this was before that as well. Sci-fi and horror is really the only stuff that should be rebooted, and now it's everything, which is also ridiculous. But this was before those days. This was 1996. And they had tons of rumors, and you didn't know what to believe, and they didn't think they could bring it back. And they did for one night. They should have done a little better job with it, yes, but it still was a very good attempt. If you like Paul McGann, and he is a great actor, listen to the audios. Plus, he came back in the reboot. You can see that on YouTube, where they brought back all the doctors for the reboot as the doctors and not as the doctors. And they also have John Barrowman as well from Torchwood. And McGann also came back on the web to do his death regeneration scene. And it was a little hammy too. So there's sort of a, some people also are reluctant to watch, especially a lot of Americans are reluctant to watch British television for the music, for the acting, for the pronunciation of their lines. Okay, but they also don't have to like it if they don't want to. But again, in the Northeast and Texas and Florida and even in California, I bumped into a lot of fans who love Tom Baker, who love the Doctor Who theme song, who love the setup of it. I mean, you could do almost anything with Doctor Who. And I think that's the other reason why it's lasted as long as it has, because it's not confined like other science fiction shows are. It's not confined like a cop show is, and all that, where you're set in a certain universe and you can't leave it. You can't do it. But with Doctor Who, you can do almost anything. And you also have great actors, no matter whether they're male or female. You have great actors. The only other thing I didn't like was the nonsense of the female companions aren't strong when Doctor Who has always had strong female companions. So Doctor Who is romantic. He didn't need to go around kissing people, but they've changed it. And all the doctors have kissed people now except for Whittaker. Um, okay, Susie. But again, the show can change. They were trying to update it. They were trying to change it from McCoy. And McCoy also mentioned that he was finally treated right. McCoy didn't really have a good time of Doctor Who until the last year in 1989. And then they cut it short. They didn't give it a lot of justice except for like maybe 5 stories that were really great of McCoy's era. But at least with this TV movie, he got treated right. He got treated like the star that he should have been, and he is. And the BBC, he admitted on camera that the BBC, said, justify yourself, and they've done it with him and Colin Baker and Peter Capaldi, and that's not right. And it took the BBC almost 50 years to realize the fan base is not going away. It took them 50 years to figure that out, and that's just wrong. I hate to use Susan's word, but it is wrong. And they've made lots of money off it. So please, BBC, treat the show right, please. It's 2019. Get some courage.
That's right.
Right, thanks for that. We'll go to Harry now. See if he has any favourite moments or things what he thought.
I'd have to say, if I had to choose a favorite moment, it's that scene in Just Leaving the Hospital with Grace, where the doctor's in her car. He's saying, get this thing out of me. I've got 2 hearts. If you don't get it out of me, it's going to upset the regeneration cycle. Oh, I'm going to literally die a second time, and I won't come back again. This is, in effect, a point of continuity. You've got the fact that you're saying, I can regenerate. I can do it, but this is causing a disruption. I do have 2 hearts, as was shown in when they did the X-ray. Everybody thought it was a overshoot, but he did have 2 hearts. This is probably the best scene in the movie because it gives you the fact you understand he is the Doctor. He does have an alien body. He's not human. And this is something that really, if they had done it right, explained it better, would have made the movie go over a lot better. Add that, putting a little bit more of explanation of the feud between the Doctor and the Master. I mean, Eric Roberts did a decent job as the Master. I mean, he's no Delgado. He's no Anthony Ainley. But he did a decent job of what he had. And as he admitted, the Master admitted, I need a Time Lord body. This body just will not last. It's human. It doesn't have the right DNA structure that I need to survive. That's one thing that the whole thing like that should, in my opinion at least, should have been explained more. Because if you're going to do something like this, you got to give us a bit more explanation of the characters. You just can't throw something like this in here expecting people to understand it. Fans of the show would understand it, but the general public didn't understand it. And to this day, unless you got someone who's a fan who's watching it with them, they're not going to get it. And that's probably the biggest downfall of the whole movie. They had a decent movie, but they just didn't explain it well enough for people to understand. And that's, to me, is a shame, because it is a decent movie, but it went up against two powerhouse comedy shows, and it just couldn't stand it.
Well, we can't change things like that. I've got a few favourite moments. I mean, a really nice scene where the Doctor and Grace are together in her house, and she's checking his heartbeat, and there's is it Madame Butterfly playing, and Puccini, and then oh, so sad. I mean, that is such good acting from Paul McGann there. You're thinking, well, it's like showing how old the Doctor is, talking about Puccini. And then the scene at the beginning, well, sort of 20 minutes into it with McCoy's death scene, that is just shocking and done so well. Well, you know, where they won't listen to him while he's trying to get off the operating table, and they're poking about in his heart. So literally, they killed him. That is just so well done, and it when I first saw it, I was shocked that because every Doctor has, when they leave, Hartnell sort of, his body died of old age. Troughton was forced exile. Pertwee was radiation poisoning. Tom Baker, it was a large fall. Davison was poisoning again. And now we know Colin Baker's, because of Big Finish, was radiation again. And McCoy, he was shot, and it was the doctors what killed him. That's very original, because we'd never had anything like that before.
Shot and then shocked and then stabbed, basically in the heart.
Yeah, I mean that is a really, for one of the Doctor's death scenes, that is just it's up there. And I say, and for me, McGann all the way through it, he's just awesome. He really does. He does rock this. It's just a shame it didn't lead to any more TV McGann. But what can you do, eh? Anybody else to say on this movie? Or shall we just go to final say and scores?
Well, let me say this about it. It had everything that you wanted in a Doctor Who episode, in a Doctor Who adventure. A story that was you had a need, you had the planet was in danger, and it was once again Earth. I mean, he didn't have to call UNIT. He didn't call Torchwood. He didn't get on the phone and tell the Queen that this was all going wrong. He just went at it, and with a couple of humans and his old frenemy, he totally he solved the issue. And there was a bit of like with the Fourth Doctor. Once again, there was the Doctor in bondage, and that power shift was kind of amazing, because that when you do that sort of thing, that you're actually like empowering the person that you've got in bondage. There's that, I don't know how it works, but that's just what happens. So literally, you walk out of you when the credits roll, you've got this person who's so much more powerful in the Doctor, and then those people that he was with are so much more powerful than they were when the thing started. And it's really tremendous. So I really love the empowerment. I mean, I think that is one of the sweetest things about this movie, is that you've got these sort of normal things, like a clock, like a motorcycle, and like the TARDIS, which isn't normal but is normal in the story. And all of these things only impel them to be more and more powerful. And that's really cool about Doctor Who. And that's
Yeah.
really why I love the show so much.
So what would you give this movie then, Susan?
I will give it I'll give it 10 Eyes of Harmony out of 10. I'll give it 50 Eyes of Harmony out of 10. I think that, I just love this.
Maths is not your strong point.
Honestly, this is the first DVD of Doctor Who that I ever owned was this. And it was funny because I didn't know I'd ever meet Paul McGann, and then I did. And so that's when I got him to sign the book of the script. And, fantastic human being and fantastic doctor. So, and here's Alex.
Alex, what would you score this then?
Yeah, I'd basically give it a 8.5. I do like it. I think they should have had Eric Roberts a little different. They should have explained more. I think they were afraid of the old British trope and the old British stereotype of too much dialogue, and I think that made the movie actually suffer. But like I said, I've also shown it to people that, only watch Tom Baker or they only watch Pertwee, and they said, yeah, McGann's pretty good, but just the way that the flow was, and they didn't explain things very well. Like I said, I think they were afraid of it being too wordy.
So, not a 10?
But I'll give it like I said, I'll give it an 8.5. It is good that it helped the fandom. It is good that it introduced Paul McGann.
Was Sylvester McCoy your first Doctor?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
I met him, but I don't consider him my first Doctor. Like I said, it was good that they were finally treated a little better until 2010, when the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, came in, and then finally the show was back in another golden age, another age that was good. And now they're up to 13 and a woman, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, I do love the creation of it. I do like the fact that this is a show that the BBC sort of it funds it, but then it doesn't, but then it comes back, but then the fans demand it to come back, and it's sort of one of those shows that it doesn't officially die. It sort of comes and goes, and just like the TARDIS, it has a time and it does really good. Then it does really bad, like the 80s, where they should have changed the producer after the 5th Doctor, and then it got put on a hiatus, and it was canceled, then it came back, then it was put on a hiatus again, and then it came back again, and then it went away again. So it's kind of funny. It's like a sci-fi fandom, and it just vacillates. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, strong, and it's I think in a way it'll always be around, but hopefully it'll be around for another 30 years. But we won't know 100%.
I agree.
Well, of course you agree. But like I said, it should have been better written. It should have been better explained. They probably should have. Probably should have restrained Eric Roberts a little bit, because the thought had occurred to me. I said, I want Eric Roberts in that thing with the restraints.
Eric Roberts involved?
Yeah, instead of Paul McGann. But like I said, from what we heard from the scripts, from the scripts, it could have been a lot worse, and it could have been more family, looking for my father, and that doesn't quite work in Doctor Who. So,
that's Star Wars.
Yeah, it is Star Wars, actually.
That was an 8.5, was it, from you then?
Yeah, it was an 8.5.
Right, so we've got a zillion billion from Susan. We've got an 8.5 from Alex. Right, what shall we see what Harry has to say?
I gotta admit, the movie was well done, but as I said, it needed a lot more explanation. It needed a lot more depth, explaining characters, explaining the Doctor, his background, and somewhat explain the feud between him and the Master. Why the Master? I mean, they did a little bit at the beginning about the Master who's claiming his life ending, being killed on Skaro and everything. But you still deserve more of a background, the feud between the two. I mean, the movie's not bad. It's not great. It's good acting for what they did. I'd have to give it a rating of 6. Okay. Now, for those who want to follow through on the movie, you want to sink your teeth into a good book, there is one book. I don't have it pulled, but it's in my collection. I'd wholeheartedly recommend it. It is The 8 Doctors by Terrence Dicks. It takes off right where the movie landed, and it's very good. Get your hands on it. It's by Terrence Dicks. You cannot go wrong with Dicks' books. But this is one of those books I wholeheartedly recommend. I give this Terrence Dicks book an 11 out of 10.
Cool. If I remember rightly, the eight Doctors, if I remember right, because I have read it a few years ago, part of it takes place on the space station where the trial of the timeline took place, if I remember rightly. If some of it was added in there, I think. But
there was a small scene when each Doctor, each of his previous incarnations, he does get in with the 6th Doctor during the trial.
Yeah. I thought it was somewhere in there. Yeah, it's been so long since I read that one. For me personally, I enjoyed it. I enjoy Paul McGann, whatever he does now. I always look forward to when the audios are released.
I'm loving Ravenous, by the way.
Are you? Oh, right. Which box set are you on to? Or you finished them all?
I'm on 3.
Right. Yeah. I liked the portrayal of the Candyman in the first box set. I thought it was brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah. The movie was good, but as I say, it could have been better, as people have said. It could have been better. So for that reason, I'm giving it an 8.5 as well. That's still enjoyable. Still an enjoyable movie. I could have given it an 8.5 helium-filled Daleks, because they did sound like they were on helium at the beginning of that movie.
Yes.
And I'm not a big fan of the Daleks, but come on. That was
the director's doing. He did voices of the Daleks.
Yeah, I know.
Voices from England people bring do the Dalek voices.
But yeah, it made me laugh when I heard it. I thought, what? Right. Now we're all done. We've been talking it. We've done and dusted with this TV movie. We've got nothing else to say apart from Susan absolutely loves it. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining us talking the 96 movie. You guys out there, if you like this and you want to join us, get in touch with us. We sit down here and talk. I mean, usually we like to have these casts go on for maybe 20 minutes, but usually they go on for over an hour because we like to talk.
And because we like each other and it's fun.
We like some people we like more than others, but you can never tell which ones.
Yeah, don't give Lee a hard time, okay?
But no, like you say, well, Alid and me. But you say, if you get in touch, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're all over the place. So until next time, we'll see you.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
I forgot.
The theme song, the reason that the theme song is so great about this movie is that it's the middle 8. It's the best part of the Doctor Who theme song. Okay. I have to let this land this thing, but yeah. Yay!
She always gets the last word.